Today, Ether and XRP get a boost after the president clears the way for crypto in 401ks. And Jordi Alexander of Selini Capital provides a market recap following a rocky start to August. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Brandon Gomez. Crypto prices mixed to end the week, even after President Trump signed an executive order that clears a path for alternative assets, including crypto, to be added into workplace retirement plans. The executive order directs the U.S. Secretary of Labor to review fiduciary guidance on private market investments in 401ks and other defined contribution plans. The order is a major victory for private asset managers who have pushed for greater adoption of alternative assets in defined contribution plans during the president's second term in office. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin dipped by more than 0.5%, but still traded above $116,000. Ether, however, climbed nearly 3%, inching closer to $4,000. And Ripple's native token XRP jumped more than 5% after Ripple and the SEC informed the Second Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday that both parties were voluntarily dismissing their appeals of a 2023 ruling in the case. This ends the long legal battle that began in 2020 when the regulator filed a lawsuit against the crypto firm, alleging Ripple violated securities law through the sale of XRP. For the week, major cryptocurrencies are in the green, with Bitcoin climbing about 2.5%, Ether rising a whopping 12%, and XRP jumping nearly 7%. Now, we're also watching shares of CleanSpark, which are down around 7.5% as of noon. That's despite the company reporting record revenue last quarter, driven by Bitcoin mining. The company also reported net income of over $257 million, compared to a net loss of $236 million a year ago. All right, sticking with markets for our main story, Crypto World's Tanay McKeel spoke with Jordi Alexander of Selini Capital about what's driving crypto prices right now and what we can expect for the rest of the year.
To start, I just want to get your view on where the crypto market is right now. Last week, we saw it kind of wobble into August, which is typically, like the dog days of summer, lighter volumes, big volatility. And what's going on this week? Because we're not really seeing that trend continue, but it's not necessarily a big rally either. Obviously, crypto and crypto stocks have been running really hot for several weeks now. Where are we in this market?
That's a great question. Crypto brings out the animal spirits. So when we get a run, it becomes reflexive, and then we just have to chew, digest. You have to kind of absorb these big moves. You get these crazy 1 week, 1 month rallies. And, what's been happening the last few weeks is we're consolidating a little bit. Bitcoin has tried to retest 110, but it's been very strong. So it continues to show that there is money on the sidelines waiting to buy dips. And it is quite constructive overall. I think the fact that equity markets have sort of topped in the near term, but gold and Bitcoin are picking back up is extremely positive to see.
Bitcoin and crypto are still really vulnerable to the stock market movements because they're still risk assets. So it has been a little up and down this week. Where do you see that going from here, given that crypto investors are so used to expecting slowness in August and September and then a rally at the end of the year? Do you expect the macro to kind of come back into play again over the adoption story here?
Yeah, look, I've been trading this asset class for a decade, and most of the money is fast money. People go in quickly, go out quickly. The fundamentals do matter massively over time, and we've had incredible fundamentals. First, the administration has been really done incredible amount of support through telling the SEC and the CFTC to just support the asset class. Like, this is a national priority, and they're just completely performing something that was unthinkable a couple of years ago, which is, let's rewrite the rules and make it more supportive. And now we're hearing, this executive order that can bring crypto into 401ks, which, it goes without saying that the ETF was a big move. IBIT and some of the financial advisors saying put 1%, put 2% in. Now you're having even more of legitimacy by putting it into 401ks. This is not going to be seen, day to day in the market. But if you zoom out a few months, a couple of years, it's such a huge impact. And so, yes, we're not going to see immediate moves. The people who are bullish crypto already are, but the flows will just keep coming in, keep picking up. And look, if more and more Americans have it in their retirement accounts, it becomes even more of a national priority.
How do you see that playing out? And I guess to what extent do you see that announcement as more symbolic than anything, and just another, signal from the White House that they are trying really hard to make America the crypto capital of the world, versus how it actually gets implemented? I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, we saw Fidelity turn on that option, say investors can put Bitcoin into their 401ks, but then in that case, it was very contingent on the employers turning on that functionality. So how do we actually see something like this start to play out? To what extent would you say it's appropriate to be celebrating that kind of announcement?
Look, if you're like a holder for more than a few months and you're going to be holding this asset, it's huge. I mean, yes, it takes a while for things to filter through. The education has to happen, the financial advisors everything has to kind of filter through the employers. But the legitimacy is massive. And if you think about why the S&P 500 keeps going up and why is this like, it's because so many people have it that the politicians have to support the S&P 500. It's just in everyone's portfolio. And so, hell or high water, they have to support the S&P 500 no matter what it takes. And actually having, crypto potentially be considered in that conversation, in that priority is, on like a 2, 3, 4 year horizon, it's really huge. And look, right now, yes, the markets are looking at the job report. It was weak. It's scaring people, and then they get excited because we're going to get rate cuts. I would say I'm in the camp that I don't know that like a 25 bip or a 50 bip rate cut is going to change the fundamentals much. It might kind of reliven things for a few days. I'm not in the belief that it will completely change the macro picture, because there's a reason why they're cutting. It means the economy is slowing down. So it's a double-edged sword, but certainly for things like gold and Bitcoin that thrive in low interest rate environments, it is positive.
So tell me about that price action coming up in September, because many investors that I've spoken with in the last week or so have said, expect this crypto rally that we've seen over the last couple of months to kind of be on pause here until we actually get some kind of macro catalyst, which would likely be the September Fed meeting. So does that look like a short-term reaction to you? What are you expecting the impact from that day to be realistically?
I think it's very small reaction, because these things get priced in already. Like, the market knows that there will be most likely a 25 bip cut. Guess maybe we get a 50, we get some surprise and we get some extra juice because, the dollar will weaken even more, and the dollar weakening is going to be good for assets like Bitcoin and gold. So if we get something unexpected, that'll be a nice sugar rush. But the things that really matters over the remaining part of the year are we going to get more large players and countries and governments and sovereign wealth funds to come in, which they're increasingly talking about it. We're seeing headlines about Brazil, different countries starting to look at, they're looking at what Trump is doing, and they're saying, well, we should have a strategy. We should start allocating. And I think that's much more impactful than, a priced in 25 bip cut.
Final thing for me, tell me about the shift in sentiment that we're seeing in Bitcoin. The most exciting thing I think that we've seen the last couple of months has been that rotation into ETH and ETH-related assets. What exactly does that mean for Bitcoin going forward? I don't think it's like anyone is losing interest in that asset by any means, but what exactly is happening here, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, this is the age-old rotation. Bitcoin runs, and then there's the catch-up trade, which is usually starting by ETH. And we're seeing that again, even with these treasury stocks, where MicroStrategy and some of these copycats have done very well. And then you have Tom Lee now, and some of these ETH Zillas and the ETH strategies that are getting that rotation. It's, like I said, a normal process of you're chewing, you're digesting, and then you have another bite of Bitcoin. So this is more like we're getting ready for the next bite. By no means, are the interests of the investors in Bitcoin going away. I think these catch-up trades are very natural, but they cycle through pretty quickly. And I think by September we'll be ready for the next bite.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World this week. We are back again on Monday, and we'll see you then.